goodness. Just going to record this. That was the little message so that it's available for future viewings. And for those not familiar with Market Umbrella or Crescent City Farmers Market, the organization that's hosting this event, we are the New Orleans nonprofit that runs the Crescent City Farmers Markets. We run the 3 markets, a home delivery box. We have a number of nutrition incentive programs, and that's all work that we've been doing in New Orleans since 1995, so for 26 years. We work a lot on both food supply and demand side of the local food system, and so this class and other technical assistance like it is geared in both those directions to build and support our local food system. And what else do I want to say? Keep your eyes peeled because we do have a spring series that we'll be announcing coming up. So if you like this, there will be other classes available, more geared primarily towards agricultural producers, whereas this is kind of, for our intents and purposes, universal content for all of our vendors. And then for CCFM vendors who are participating today, I do want to mention, and Maddie will mention this a few times, there are going to be further resources on available for consulting and especially with regards to labeling. So there will be more information coming from me about those as we kind of tighten up those details. So keep your eyes out in your email for that. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Maddie here from Mad DIY Marketing, who will be providing all the wonderful content for you today.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to share my screen. So let me know when you can see Canva. All right. Can you all see my presentation? Perfect. Hello, my name's Maddie. For those of you who don't know me, I started Mad DIY Marketing a few years back when I moved to New Orleans to help small food businesses, agricultural businesses, and just small stage entrepreneurs with their digital marketing. So Maddie is my name. Mad DIY is Mad Do-It-Yourself Marketing. I've worked with Fun 17, with Propeller, Insanity Kombucha, a few other folks here in New Orleans, and I am currently employed by Veggie Farmers Cooperative. I am the individual who you see at the markets, and I do a lot of the digital marketing and customer relations with that Farmers Cooperative. Thank you so much for being here. And I also have on the video Jeremy Otis and Kimberly Otis from Pickled Nola, who will be joining me on this Marketing Your Farmers Market Business webinar today. Jeremy and Kimberly, would y'all like to say hello?
Hey everyone. Pickled Nola. Glad you guys joined us today. I'm excited to be here, and I hope you are too.
All right, so as Angelina mentioned, we're going to be going over quite a few things today. And the main overview and takeaways that you'll have are a better understanding of the Louisiana Cottage Food Law. I'll mention in the slide that I am not an expert, but I do have some knowledge of this food law. So we're going to be going over that and specifically to the state of Louisiana, and then Crescent City Farmers Market and the Cottage Food Law labeling requirements, which will be very important moving into 2022, and also generally important for anyone who is selling a packaged product, if that's value added from your farm or falls within the Cottage Food Law list. We're going to be going through branding, some like overarching concepts of branding, what it means for you as a food business, particularly to value add and products, CPG products, and how you can market your business digitally and physically, and some strategies that you can walk away with. and hopes to want to join me and or a graphic designer that Crescent City has hired to help you with some of your visual designs. And then we'll host a Q&A. Okay, so according to the USDA, I always like to start things off with some data, make everybody feel good about the work they're doing. It shows that there are over currently 8,600 farmers markets listed in the United States. And in comparison to 2008, where there was 4,685, this shows that the popularity and appeal of farmers markets to consumers is continuing to grow. And this highlights the importance of direct marketing, value add products, and CPG at these types of markets. It also, I believe this increase of farmers markets throughout the United States also supports consumer trends about, especially because of the COVID-19 global pandemic. We have more folks cooking at home, making products themselves, sourcing direct from local farmers, grocery shopping locally, supporting small businesses. So this is a really wonderful number that I'm sure we'll see continue to climb as consumers start to tie their eating habits with kind of their morals and their ethics and environmental impacts. So the Louisiana Cottage Food Law is very unique. I want to start off with saying that I hosted a Cottage Food Law webinar that it goes into extreme detail on all of these areas and the specifics of the law with Fund 17 and Startup Food Biz last fall. We'll be sending you a kind of a toolkit once this webinar is over that will include all the concepts we're talking about, checklists, free resources you can utilize, X, Y, and Z. And this webinar on Cottage Food Law will be one of them. So we're going to do an overview. Cottage Food Law in general allows the sale of certain types of foods that are limited in volume that were produced in an at-home kitchen. This also means that you are exempt from some food code laws. There is a benefit to you to be a cottage food business. That I think the main reason they exist is to help small businesses create a revenue and to build a business around, say, like a family recipe or a niche product or something that can build the local economy by utilizing local ingredients. So you can see that Louisiana has a lot of products that fall within Cottage Food Law. This means that within these categories, you create a low risk, relatively low risk, safe food, which just means that it's not going to produce like a foodborne illness outbreak, those types of things. I didn't include what wasn't allowed just because that would be very obvious. So as a small operation, these laws, the cottage food laws, help you avoid expensive and cumbersome food safety rules that are designed for higher at-risk food businesses. Think meat, products that include meat, dairy, food that can carry pathogens or illnesses, and it helps you avoid expensive licenses. In Louisiana, it's very important to know if you're planning on moving into the baked goods, the prepare of breads, cakes, cookies, or pies, you become exempt from cottage food once you employ somebody to help you create these products. This is just one of the rules with this category that you need to pay attention to. There are other regulatory measures in place for these folks that you'll need to familiarize yourself with in a deeper way, if you're moving into that category. And again, I have a webinar I can share with you that goes into detail of these specifics. And you can also see that Louisiana has, jambalaya and soft shell, hard shell crab, which is, pretty cool and unique. And I think a few of those are from the 1970s. If anyone can tell me why, I would love to know. So in Louisiana specifically, you can sell your cottage food to direct or indirect sales, which means you can, and Jeremy will talk about this in just a few minutes. So you can sell direct to consumer, which you do at the farmer's market if you're a CCFM vendor. You can sell directly to restaurants, retail, so grocery stores, local food co-op, and you can do wholesale. So that's, I want to say, very unique to Louisiana. And our laws here are that if you have an annual gross of more than $20,000, you no longer apply for this, this cottage food law. It's also worth noting that when you're starting this business, there are other laws that you need to pay attention to, you know, like zoning and zoning ordinances for your city or your parish. They can change depending on where your home is, where your land is, where you're growing, and then familiarizing yourself with some state tort laws and instances that can arise because of a cottage food product. You know, again, as spoken to earlier, those foodborne illnesses or, you know, allergies. If you forgot to mention an allergy on your product, somebody could say, hey, that wasn't on there. Hygiene and so forth. So when operating as a cottage food law, labeling becomes very important. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Again, I'd like to welcome Jeremy and Kimberly, who are the owners of Pickled Nola. And they'll be able to kind of take us through, you know, a little bit of their experience about being cottage food, still being cottage food, and also currently selling at a few retail locations around the city.
So yeah, thanks for that, Maddie. We really appreciate it. Starting our business out in 2018, it was very scary, right? We didn't know, really know what we were getting into. We just knew we had a good product. And the reason we knew we had that product was really because of friends and family, right? Who they had been eating our products for some time, and we got this idea, right, to start this business because we did have a retailer that wanted to carry our product. And so, you know, out of that, we began our research to look at, okay, how do we go about creating this business, but also doing it from home? And that's when we realized that was a lot of stuff we had to, you know, we had to learn and figure out. So that's where Cottage Food Law came in handy for us, knowing that one, we could sell our products. You know, we had to work with the city of New Orleans as far as, you know, getting that license to be able to produce that product. And it also helps when dealing with different retailers, right? When you sell your product, making sure that you have everything that you need in order. As far as paperwork, right, to be able to sell those products. So it's been a journey. We're learning every day. You know, we're not like experts, Maddie, but you know, we do work to just learn more and more each day to be able to keep this thing going. And we do have these dreams, right, of this becoming much bigger and moving into that commercial space, hopefully sooner than later.
Absolutely. And, you know, folks who are interested in, you know, going in this journey, y'all are a wealth of information. So again, thank you for being here. And so on that note, Pickled Nola is our label example today. So when, as mentioned, labeling and cottage food products is very important. Also, when selling direct to consumer at the Crescent City Farmers Market, there are recommended labels, you know, nationally for cottage food that, you know, they're like, this would be a great idea if you put it on there. Mind you, those are not the requirements that Crescent City is moving forward with in 2022. But we're going to go through those just so that you have a recommended list of how and what to put on your label. So name and address of producer, obviously, that is a requirement for CCFM, the name of your product, or usual name or common name of that product, the ingredients in descending order of predominance by weight, and then allergens. You know, as a vendor at the market, I sell products that contain allergens, and it is very important that we display those labels at our table, not only, to protect the customer from consuming this and then having a reaction, but also to protect the cooperative. So familiarize yourself with those 8 allergens. And even if it's not a requirement, I would still encourage that to be listed. Net weight and volume will be, important if you want to move through into the retail space and sell larger quantities. And then, you need to consider that your sales of cottage food can only be in the state of Louisiana. Once you move outside of the state of Louisiana, you are then opening up to FDA national labeling requirements and a whole list of other things that are not included in this presentation. So please be aware of that. And then specifically to Louisiana, you'll see that the only labeling requirement for the state of Louisiana is to mention on the label somewhere, this food was not produced in a commercial kitchen. This food was made, like I know Poche Family Farm, they do a lot of value add on their labels. They say made in our home kitchen. As long as you're letting the customer know that it was not a regulated facility or a commercial kitchen, you are good. That is the only legal requirement in the state of Louisiana. And again, if you're moving into that, cottage law where you're going to become a baker, there are specific requirements for you in terms of labeling for these. So you need to pay attention to the ingredients you're using there and how they require you to list that. The only exception to the rule which is worth noting is raw honey.
No, you are, sir.
If it's not processed, pasteurized, or filtered, there are no rules for labeling of this product. So as Jeremy mentioned, there are other things you need to consider: state tax certificates, home-based business licensing, city tax certificates, vendor permits if you're going to do any special things. But again, that webinar that I'm going to send you will be very helpful if you're interested in moving in that direction. Again, just want to note that label requirements by Crescent City Farmers Market for products that are packaged or fall within the cottage food that are direct to consumer will be required to have labels that mention the food was not produced in a commercial kitchen, a list of the ingredients, the name of your company address, and your telephone number. That won't happen until the second part of Q2.
Could I just offer one little thing here? So our rules and regulations, basically our rules are just that you have to follow whatever laws there are that apply to the products that you're bringing to market. So we don't have anything beyond that really. The Cottage Food Law is an exemption to the Louisiana Health Code Title 51 or whatever that regulates all of the other prepared foods. So there are certain allowances you get there. But basically our rules are, you have to follow LDH, who oversees like value added product labeling in general. They are the enforcers of that. LDH or Cottage Food, or both if they apply. Whatever rules apply to your product by local or state or federal authorities are the rules that we expect people to follow. And I would just like to throw out there that we have a lot of experience in helping vendors come on board and to navigate these issues. So too, if you ever have any questions about this, Maddie's a resource, but so are myself and actually Sierra, our market managers, on the call today too. So we're all resources for you if you have questions about this stuff.
Thank you. Yes, all very important. So not only is following laws with labeling important, but labeling and visual branding is extremely important, especially when you're selling direct to customer at the farmer's market or online or anywhere. So as shopping at a farmer's market is a very visual experience, people who are coming to the market are using their eyes, and you are physically selling your product to them at your table with your display, with your logos, with your signage. So as it's a physical discovery for your product, it's also this way when you're building your brand. Customers are looking for brands that speak to them through colors, images, shapes, and it's an excellent way of establishing a brand recognition, obviously, for their future purchases with your business. And also you're able with your branding to create this emotional impression on them. And also these images, utilizing the images and logos are very powerful form of communication that don't require words. So you can communicate through on this emotional level through these colors that evoke, a more persuasive, reaction to grab your product. Or come say hi to you or learn more about your ingredients. So building your brand is a visual process. Building your product labels is a visual process. Building your farmer's market table is a visual process. And, you need to be able to explain that also with words. So we're gonna also, I mentioned earlier, be sending you a toolkit to kind of deep dive a little bit more into what these visual branding, checklist that you can go through to create your messaging, your assets for your website, your social media. So we'll get into a little bit of that later as well. But I just wanted to kind of bring back the point that, visual branding is super important when you're selling at the market. So we wanted to talk about, the visual branding with your labels, because it's, as a vendor, you have like your process of setting up. You have your website, maybe you have your Instagram, but the visual branding allows you to truly create strong customer relationships, and it absolutely builds into loyalty. And Jeremy, I'd love for you to kind of speak onto this as well as a CPG business on, how the branding and your product and being at market and now on retail has increased your profitability of your business and your customer base.
For sure. And Kim, jump in if I miss something. I'll start by saying, so our labeling and which is a part of just our marketing and branding piece, has evolved so much. For anybody that's been a fan of our product, that's purchased our product since we've started, we've went from just blank jars. And then when joining Crescent City, there were requirements that we had to put in place. And so, we took those steps. I will say, Crescent City doesn't require a ton. And so, we went on and did that. But honestly, it was when I began to view other products and really start to take what I did much more seriously. I realized that, when I'm shopping, what do I look for? And when I really started to think about it from that perspective, that is what really helped me. When I buy a product, I want a product that looks good. I want a product I can look at it and it gives me all the information that I need. The size, who's it made by, what's in it, where is it made, so on. Is it local? Those are the types of things that I would look for if I was. And so just thinking through, how do I incorporate that into my labels? You want your branding to be professional. You want it to look nice, and you want something that stand out as well. So anytime someone looks at that jar, they know, oh, that's that pickle. That's that good pickle. That's the one I'm looking for. They can't mistake it for something else.
Absolutely. And not only does it continue to build that brand recognition and, strengthen Jeremy's relationships with the customers, but having really wonderful, beautiful branding, cohesive messaging really helps with building your digital content for either website or social media. And so these are just some points that, maybe sometimes as vendors, we might forget to think about. Another one that is really crucial is also customer service, especially physically at the market. It has a super high impact on, folks are going to come back to your table. So always remember that, your presence when you go to market, you become a salesperson as well. And, that's a really big part of being at market. So as mentioned, we kind of went through, let's see, there we go. We can go in depth together in office hours to, kind of go into more of these, tap into helping you build your label. I know that Crescent City or Market Umbrella has hired a graphic designer as well. My specialty is helping you develop your messaging around your target customer and, transferring that to the digital space as in a website or a social media marketing plan. So there are many ways and many avenues and things that we did not, highlight here, but am available through office hours, to kind of go into a little bit more depth on the benefits and helping you develop what that your label looks like and why and who you're talking to. So building a strong brand plus presence at the market. I really like this quote about brand because it feels very encompassing. When we talk about brand, it's like the very essence of who you are as a business, what you stand for, and what customers can expect when they engage with you. And to take a strong brand, it makes like you can build really strong relationships, right? There are a few steps that we can deep dive into, like determining who your target audience is, knowing your competitive landscape and your environment, a competitive environment for who's operating within that space. A part of that is also creating a logo or a symbol or some sort of meaning through visuals that illustrates your business purpose. And then also writing down your key messages to translate into your marketing materials for both your physical and your digital spaces. And then overall being consistent in that messaging on all channels to make sure that your actions match your words. So these are some concepts that we can dive into in terms of a brand. But first and foremost, when we're talking about folks who are buying products, who are shopping either in a physical space or a digital space, the most important thing a business needs to know is who is your customer. The more specifically you know who you're selling to, and I'm talking specifically, the better you'll be able to provide your product as a solution to either a need, a craving, their culinary process, or it can become a staple in their kitchen pantry as a snack item for their kids. I want to give you a few moments right now to really think about who you're currently selling to. If you're not currently selling at a market or through the digital space, you can still think about this. Who is that customer that you want to sell to? How does your product speak to their values and their purchasing motivations? Ask yourself about their shopping motivations. Is your customer's main motivation clean eating, homegrown ingredients? Well, you're going to gear your messaging towards them, your signage towards them, your colors. This is a whole personality development. Does your customer pay top dollar for organic, local, and positive environmental impact products? Is your customer's main motivation to support locally made products regardless of certifications or, ingredients? Understanding who this is, who your customer is as a business will and is crucial in developing strong messaging for any marketing strategy that you are going to undertake, either as a CPG, a farmer, or value add and farmer. It's also important if you're selling in a physical space, I don't know how demos are these days for CPG companies, but pay attention to how the customer interacts at your table or with your product. You can do a lot of market research on your own just by allowing that openness to whoever's coming to your table and watching, what they pick up first, what questions they're asking. That can really help you develop your customer profile and understand their motivations, on a deeper level. Because you might be thinking that you're selling to someone who pays top-notch dollars for organic produce, but you tell them your kale is $3.99 or $4, and they're like, they set it back down. Pay attention to those interactions in the physical space. There's also a way to do that digitally, but I can mention that later. So again, understanding who your customer is the first and foremost. So this is an interactive part of the presentation. If anybody would like to partake, these are two different tables that you might experience at a farmer's market. So everyone put on your shopper, your market goer hat. If you're a vendor, this is going to be really fun for you. And take a look at these two tables. These two tables provide a very different experience. So if you want to unmute yourself and maybe share some feelings or reactions or something you're missing with this, please feel free. I encourage you to. And if not, that's okay.
Well, the little table, it would be nice if there was someone standing there at least talking to the customer. There's no signage or anything, so it needs some interaction of some kind. It'd be not as visually appealing as the larger table with the sign.
I remember Angelina used a phrase that was something like, you want to give the impression of abundance or something like that. And that's what you're going for at CCFM. And the table on the left gives me that impression. It just looks like there's more there. You have your pick of the best and so forth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody else?
I really like how products on the left are labeled like universally with the price sheet, and then certain products have further detailed label. There's just a lot of information conveyed, and one of the things, you know, it can feel deceptive, especially in direct to consumer sales where you're interacting directly with a customer, but you don't interact with all of the customers at the market. There are a lot of customers who are circulating through the market who aren't necessarily going to stop at your table and have that conversation with you. And so, you know, having this like presentation and the information on the labeling is a way to share all this information about the product and about your business without, you know, without having that conversation with the customer.
Absolutely.
That table on the left, honestly, it sells itself because everything is labeled, right? A person can be there, but I mean, that thing you can walk up and know everything you need to know just by looking at that table. There's the prices, there's where it's grown at, it's local, and everything you need to know.
Absolutely. So these two displays are a part of your brand, you know, so one table invites more interaction than the other. One table instills, you know, the customer's confidence in the business's products or maybe selling capabilities or just business overall. And they invoke different feelings and emotions. So when you think about how the customer is interacting with your product in the physical and the digital space, you know, we wanted to be able to talk about this because the first interaction with your product, the first interaction with your farm or, you know, your table at the market is super crucial. So again, with these two types of with these two types of displays, what you're going for is also evoking that feeling that someone is looking for when they're going to a farmer's market. Earthy, wholesome, you know, looks natural, everything, you know, minimal packaging if possible, and is intentionally produced. These materials, you know, they match what the customer is looking for in terms of feelings, in terms of emotions that's being evoked at a market. So it's very important that your stand and your table or your tent and your banner and your logo are direct reflections. So you can tell your story, you know, right when the customer comes up to you or through marketing materials that you might have at your table. So take advantage of every opportunity that you can, you know, to illustrate who you are through product, through placement, through signage, and pay attention to how customers interact with that. So if you...
You're saying like before and during, but also after, you know, if you're shopping from many vendors at a farmer's market, like, I mean, this was especially more so when we were doing the drive-through, you know, and vendors were like placing products in people's trunks. But once you get home and you're with that product, like I've had this experience personally, and I'm very familiar with like a lot, you know, with the vendors and their products, but I'm like, I don't know what this loaf of bread is that I'm eating. Like, I don't know how I would rebuy this because I don't know what it's called. Or, you know, if labeling is even less efficient, what if somebody bought bread from more than one vendor, or any product from more than one vendor? The labeling allows the customer to continue to engage with your business after the purchase has been made, after they leave the market space altogether.
Exactly. And something that is really big in our line of work is word of mouth. So say for instance that a customer loves your chili oil and someone's coming over and they're eating it at their house, they see the label, they see the packaging, the individual who's already had that taste experience, because unfortunately right now we're not sampling at the market, which is also something that's really impactful. But I didn't mention it since it's not going on due to COVID. But that interaction with your product outside of market, but they're able to see, you know, the colors, the logo, the ingredients, and the intention that's placed on the physical item is then going to encourage them to come and find you at the market, you know, because their friend told them about you and then fed them your product. So we wanted to kind of discuss like ways to strengthen your visual displays. That also go into brand association and customer loyalty, repeat customers, word of mouth, emphasizing nutritional benefits of products on your signage. There is a lot of consumer trends that we could stay on top of, or that we, you know, as marketers, people need to stay on top of. One of those being the shift in consuming, you know, products that have local impact or a building community, or have, you know, small impact on the environment. In terms of nutrition, people are paying more attention to their gut health. They're paying more attention to their cognitive benefits and the ingredients that are listed in these products. So as a CPG or value add, you know, try to bring those benefits of this product to your customer, you know, alive, because it is one of those factors that, you know, the customer cares about and will help strengthen your relationship with them. Create dimension and use of color blocking at your displays. This is a physical, you know, recommendation, you know, multi-tiered veggies, colors playing with opposite color, you know, packaging, stacking, or different levels that, you know, someone can come and interact with. Creating these like textures and visuals that draw their eye to your table. Another thing is, you know, as a vendor and a small nonprofit farm, you know, budget becomes kind of one of the first things that bounces into our head in terms of takeaway marketing materials. But there are ways to do that at the table that are, you know, low cost. You know, you can print out your farm story, laminate it, stick it on the table, have people interact with it. That deepens their relationship, say if you're a farm with value add, or if you're, you know, fourth generation Italian who's selling this incredible tomato sauce. Tell your story in as many ways as you can. And again, we're talking about the physical displays right now, but all of these areas can translate to digital content for your website and your social platforms. Always keep that in mind. When your table looks beautiful at a market, or when your product is placed in a, you know, the perfect spot, that's a great photo that you can then perpetuate throughout your digital channels. And then other people can share it. You know, the community sharing is really big. And we work in an industry where things are beautiful for the most part. So we're very lucky in that you don't have to be a professional photographer. I can speak to that. And again, somebody had mentioned earlier, they noticed about the you know, all of the products on the table. Pile the products high, create a bounty for the eye. Nobody wants to buy the last product. It's proven. An empty table does not attract people. So always put those products back up on the table and be mindful of when you're selling out. Also utilize this as you know, product development or market research to see, you know, what people are engaging with, to then help you decide if you don't know who your customer is. And then again, product information, very important. You know, if there's information on your label about how they can store it, how they can use it, when they go home, pick up your product and put it in, say, a culinary dish, or they add it to, you know, as the main meal, they're going to be able to see that you've suggested how to do this. And that creates a really strong association to you and your product, your brand. And then they're going to want to come back and experience that over and over again. There's a trust element that is there. So we're coming up on. So presence online, I've done whole webinars on this, and I will share them with you, specifically towards customer journeys and how you can utilize your website to increase sales by, tracking your customer's journey on your website, utilizing Google Analytics. So I wanted to just provide an overview here for just things that I can help you do as a digital marketer in helping build a presence online, and let you know that it doesn't have to require a lot of time, and it's necessary. So we're just going to talk about how today, in this day and age that we call the digital age, it is important to have an online presence of some sort, so people can go and find more information about you, your business, and have the ability to contact you or engage with you outside of the physical world. So now we're solely talking digital here. So whether your website is a single page landing page, which a lot of successful cottage food and also CPG and also farmers have, is a single page on a free hosting site, where you just have all the information about you, your products that are available, boom, done. That's enough for people. It doesn't have to be a 4-page website, so on and so forth, where, you have to have different pages. You can have a landing page. So also Facebook, Instagram, these are key as well. We'll get into the reasons why having digital presence is important for both website and then think about just being human. We rely on the internet for so much. If you do not have a presence there, you are missing out on a lot of traffic, even discoverability. It doesn't have to be that you're selling your products online, but that whole discovery process is doing it, like everyone's doing it on the internet, at least 90% of people. So we're in this age where we're fueled by the digital space. And it's important as a business to know that and to tap into that and to accept it and to recognize there are resources, free if not low cost, to help you get there. So just a few data points, as mentioned, this is a 2019 data point that 89.4% of the US population is using the internet. That is wild. And, Google search engine alone accounts for more than 2 trillion searches each year. Facebook right now has roughly 214 million users just in the US. And Instagram is estimated to have about 123 users in 2022. So between the millions of US Google searches and those folks on social media, these two channels have a huge potential to drive traffic to your website or a publicly hosted space. So that can just be social media as well. And with the trends of people wanting to ask questions, know where their food is coming from. I mean, you already work in this space, I'm assuming. They're not going anywhere. So you need to be able to have these outlets for folks to contact you, to talk with you, and to engage. Because, you like it or not, a digital presence legitimizes your business. Absolutely. And consumers expect real companies to have a website, or to have a place where they can send you an email or reach out to you on some way, shape, or form. So you cannot overlook having either a website, social media together, or one or the other. It's very important. So we're gonna just do a little bit of overview of websites, and what they're mainly good for. Again, we can work on this one-on-one. We can develop a plan for getting a website built. We can work on your messaging. I'm here for you. But according to a Nelson report, a recent Nelson report, 90% of people are using the internet to find a business. So this means if you're not there, you're potentially missing out on a new customer. And this means that when you have a digital space, say a website, you can access marketing strategies like SEO, which is search engine optimization, which is a strategy that can help you grow your business organically by utilizing keywords. Especially if you're selling a product online, this is a very great do-it-yourself type marketing strategy that can hugely impact your business because statistics are showing that 53.3% of all website traffic at this day is coming from organic search. That's really big. So if businesses double down on your SEO, if you get, all the information about what you're selling, who your target is, you know how to speak to them, you can see an incredible growth, either digitally, selling your product, or just awareness of who you are, either locally, nationally. It's really awesome. So another one, if, establishing credibility and social proof, we've kind of talked about this. But a consumer is more likely to trust you if they know that you have a website. There's a group called Edelman Trust Barometer special report shows that 81% of consumers said that if they need to be able to trust a brand, they need to have a website. This is, again, just a way to build trust, show that you're real, you're not taking advantage of, anybody or anything or any systems, and establish your credibility. You can promote, obviously, on your website, promoting your product or services in the digital space. This can be just having like a blog post or some sort of material that propels your voice as a thought leader in the community or an expert in what they're making, providing digital recipe books. And also, it's another great way to showcase your website's speaking to the customer. 7 out of 10 shoppers say that they reference a customer review if you're selling online before they purchase a product. So your website, even if it's a single page, can have a scrolling bar of, positive feedback, wonderful feedback of your product that come direct from customers, which will then amplify their trust and desire to support you and try your product. So and then you can also integrate into your sales funnel, which is, I guess, more bigger picture, but worth noting if you're developing a CPG product, you can tap into a lot of wonderful free digital softwares to track website data, specifically Google Analytics. And then I know the e-commerce platforms like Shopify and Square, they do also provide data analytics on your store. But again, that data that you can track when someone enters, what pages they go to, where they leave, how they're finding you, time on site, what pages they're leaving on, products they've clicked. It's a wealth of knowledge. And I highly suggest, kind of integrating Google Analytics to your website if you haven't already done that. I have a webinar on that I can share that I did last year. It's very informative and it takes you through each step of the process if you're curious about selling direct to consumer through your website. And then I included Jamboree Jams and Lanyap Baking. They are both folks who have worked through CCFM or cooperative tables at the markets. And if you can, check out the websites. They're really great. They sell direct to customer in their own 2 ways. And just worth noting if you're looking into being a CPG to sell online, or a baker who sells direct to consumer either through markets or through their website. All right, and then social media. As we all know, this is the term of the century. It is one of those things that even for myself, it's always changing. So going into this with expectations that you're going to be able to, do everything at once is unrealistic. Do not do that. Always set a plan for yourself. I can help you create social media plans, social media calendars based on relevant content, based on data, based on, things you've done in the past, or, help create messaging about where you're moving into the future to engage your audiences and make sure that you're speaking directly to your customer. But obviously social media helps you connect with your audience in a really big way. It's a great way for you to build your reputation, not only locally, but through the broader world of the internet, especially if your business has a social aspect to it, a social good aspect where you're building community. People really love to share content. You can really grow your visibility of your brand just through content being shared from your page. So really prioritizing super high quality content on your social media is really important. Another report, which love reports, The digital information world reports that internet users, okay, this is kind of scary, are averaging 142 minutes per day on social media and messaging platforms. That's a lot of time. So if you're thinking about selling, if you're thinking about marketing, if you're thinking about your business voice and you are not on there, well, you potentially are missing out on connecting with a new customer or a new collaboration, because let's be honest, at the end of the day, it's not always about making a sale. And I truly believe that as well. You know, there are so many people in this world doing wonderful things, and having a social media presence can also connect you with other like-minded businesses, organizations, where you can create really valuable partnerships or content, giveaways, you name it. It's just a really powerful tool. Sharing your content, we talked about, reaching new audiences. So again, having that valuable content that makes your already trusted customer want to share with theirs is huge, and can open you up to those new audiences that you might be looking for. And then social media specifically encourages interaction with your brand. So people can comment on your photos, they can like, they can share. And then you as a business, either Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, which is huge right now, you can comment back and you can start a conversation, and you can really build deep, deep relationships with your customers through social media. So I included La Petite Jardin. Erica is an urban homesteader, a farmer with wonderful value-add products, and her website is just really nice. And again, an example of putting yourself on the digital space, showcasing your brand, your voice, and allowing folks to get in contact with you either through social media or website. And her social media is very beautiful, and you can see a very cohesive brand when she's posting. Okay, so I think we're almost at time with 5 minutes. We packed in a lot of information. I'm super happy to also, you know, meet offline. You know, I will be having office hours. I can help you with your digital presence strategy, messaging, target customer development, you name it. I'd love to help you. And thank you so much for joining. You can reach me here at maddiemarketing@gmail.com. And then also, if you wanted to connect with Jeremy or Kimberly, their email is also there as well. Thank you. And we can take questions if you have any.
Thank you so much, Maddie. I have been trying to sort of keep up with folks in the chat, but if there are unanswered questions, now's a great time for that. And I also mentioned in the chat, CCFM vendors, keep an eye on your email, because I'll be following up with additional resources for those office hour signups, for signing up for the design assistance, which is free. And then we'll also have some resources to assist you with printing as you get started on that. And so I'll be sending out more details about that.
And a note too, just while we're talking about the labeling, in relation to like FDA or national product labeling compared to cottage law, you can print these labels at home. It doesn't have to be anything, you know, extravagant. As long as you're hitting all those points, you can print it from your iPhone to a phone printer. You know, it really can be done at home. And so I encourage you, we'll be sending the toolkit, which will include some free softwares that you can play around with that will, you know, can help you build labels, and then you can print those from home. And also you can work with the designer that super talented as well. I believe her name's Lori, right, Angelina?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, approach these things with grace. And I mean, Jeremy said it himself, it's a journey, and they started with jars that were unlabeled, and now look where Pickled Nola is. So take a deep breath in approaching this, and really do it based on your business goals and your business growth, because that's also something within marketing you want to think about as a business, is tying your to-dos, tying everything to either Q1, Q2, or yearly goals of where you see yourself. because you want every action, every post to build your business and to elevate your brand, and so always bringing it back to the importance of your business function and what you aim to do is always something to think about. So, some of this things may not apply to you, and that's totally fine. There's not just one way to do it. But as a digital marketer, I always encourage folks, to elevate their digital presence in any way that they are comfortable or have the space to do.
Well, I just wanted to give space for a moment for questions. I also I don't know if I said this personally, I heard you say it, Maddie, but I want to thank Pickled Nola for joining us today and sharing their experience with us. I remember doing the site visit for onboarding with them, and they'd really, thought about a lot of these considerations. I mean, down to like, what are the labels that I can select that will withstand the condensation for my product when it's wet? Like, really thoughtful and comprehensive design. And so that is definitely like a great example in the farmers market of what we're looking for about, labeling for all the reasons, the customer experience reasons that Maddie has been talking about, and also for, legal label requirements. So that's
I was
great.
going to add too that the label that we have now is not the label that we started with. Like, we have gone through so many different labels and kind of figuring out what works and what doesn't work. So you might not get it on the first try. Like, we started out with like a little itty bitty tag and moved to like a full label with the nutrition facts and the UPC codes and things like that. So, but we do use the Avery website, because you can save everything on the website, and then you can either have Avery print it and mail it to you, or you can print it on your own printer. So that's been super easy for us.
All right. Well, it is 3 o'clock. If there aren't any further questions, we'll wrap it up and let everybody go on with their afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today.